Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I'm doing super fantastic. I really am. And I so hope that you are too. And I just kind of got inspired to do this, and I really hope this reaches somebody. See, I was scrolling through, just doom scrolling, most likely. I got to admit it. Okay, fine. But I was scrolling through the YouTube lives, right? And found myself on this one where it's a bunch of atheists who are trying to argue Christians and all that good stuff. And I'm like, you're kind of, my observation is, okay, that atheists and evangelical Christians, the lines between the two are pretty blurry. They're both just as preachy. They are. There's that. But then I kind of make a couple of comments. Big mistake. I know. I did. So, and then they kind of come at me. Well, you know my perspective. I hope, maybe you do. I am more of a metaphysical, right? I believe that all exists in mind, that what we call physical reality really doesn't exist. It's just our perception, where we are perceiving from currently. And my basis for that is, like, for example, people who are out of body explorers and, people who have had out of body experiences, such as myself. Mine was very spontaneous and was not, anyway, it's not important. Well, it is, but it's not right now. But the point is, regardless of what state you're in, that seems very real in that moment. Case in point, when you have a dream, then you wake up from the dream. You are usually, in a lot of cases, I shouldn't say usually, but there are cases where you will be like, wow, that was such a crazy dream. And then the thing that blows your mind even more than the crazy dream is the fact that it seemed so real at the time. It's like, God, it's so weird, it's crazy. But in the moment, it seemed so real. It seemed just as real then as this does here. Well, the explanation for that is that's where you're perceiving from. That's your current reality, right? Okay. So, I was like, hey, consciousness is, the comments that I made, I'm like, consciousness is fundamental, meaning nothing can exist until consciousness exists. And they're like, can you prove that? And I'm like, I guess I can't prove it. No. Can you prove that I'm wrong? No. You can't prove I'm wrong. I can't prove I'm right. It's just I guess that's where belief comes in. But then I thought about it. I'm like, well, I kind of can, really. Because the one question that science cannot answer is if that everything came from nothing. And I put that in there. I was like, the fact that everything came from nothing is problematic. Anyway, that's putting it nicely. So, anyway, we go back and forth and all that good stuff. They're trying to prove me wrong. And I'm like, straight up, this is just an opinion. But believing in a strictly materialistic, atheistic universe of everything is exactly as it appears. If it were true, but there's lots of proof that it's not, but I'll get to that in a minute. But even if, I'm like, even if that's true, I can't believe it because that is freaking boring. It's just boring to have a life where literally this is it. This is it. Big cosmic accident and life happened somehow by some chemical process, and then consciousness happened by an evolving brain. I'm like, so you got this little life, and that's literally it. That is so, well, it's boring. It is. I'm like, just based on that alone, I'm going to explore consciousness. I'm going to at least entertain the idea that there is more than just this. Because that would make life so pointless and so hopeless. It's like, well, then, if this is really all there is, then what's the freaking point? Why reproduce? Why survive? Why do anything if this is really it? I mean, that's freaking sad. I mean, that's damn. That would be boring and hopeless. So, even if they are right, and I know they're not, but even if they were, I still got to say, no, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm still going to explore consciousness. I'm still going to act as if all is mind and that there is something far greater than we are. And I made a mistake of mentioning the word creator. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll retract. I'll retract the word creator. Don't get triggered here, atheists. Because, and I'll change it to universal mind. I'll change it to consciousness. I'll change it to whatever you want me to change it to. It's really all the same thing. Some people call it God. Some people call it the creator. Some people call it the dreamer who's having this dream, and here we are. But then I did mention, well, somebody has to be the observer. Oh boy, I really triggered them there. Somebody, I don't even remember who it was, somebody in this chat. I've still got it going. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to play it on here or not. But, yeah. Anyway, we'll let, it doesn't matter. Point is, the observer effect. Somebody's like, you can't prove the observer effect. I'm like, well, yeah, yes, I can. First of all, I didn't even go there. I'm just like, forget it. Just forget it. At that point, I was just like, I'm just going to drop little bombs on them. You know, consciousness is fundamental. Who's the observer? Things like that. But I think back, excuse me, I think back and I'm like, I probably should have addressed that. And maybe, you know, and I got banned from the chat because because I said evangelical Christians and atheists, the lines between the two is pretty blurry to the rest of us. So there's that. They put me in a little timeout. Like, well, so much for open debate here. So all they want to do is bring on Christians and just beat them up with the Bible, with the flaws they find in the Bible. Okay, yeah, there's flaws in the Bible. It's been rewritten by people and all that. It doesn't mean there's nothing good in it. There's lots of great spiritual teachings that you can learn from the Bible. For example, Jesus. Here's one thing that Christians do not like. Jesus never healed anyone. Jesus told them, by your faith, you are healed. And I got to give props to Jason Brashears of the Archaics channel for pointing that out, because that's a little tidbit I've never really noticed. By your faith, you are healed. I told him, I didn't heal you. Your faith healed you. That's pretty awesome. And that's very much like the placebo effect. If the placebo effect, you know, if you have faith in this pill, this medicine here, that it's going to heal your illness, and there's really nothing there that causes a chemical reaction in your body that gets rid of the illness. It's just your belief that does it. That is you rewriting the programming of your avatar. Because written into your avatar's programming is this disease or this illness or whatever. And then when you take that pill, if it's not a placebo, okay, fine. Maybe there's some kind of chemical reaction, some kind of process that happens in the body that causes the illness to go away. But as far as a placebo goes, that's just your belief rewriting the code of your avatar. Anyway, so what I wish I'd said when this person was like, you can't prove the observer effect, blah, 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 or something like that. It wasn't exactly that, but that's pretty much. I wish at that point, I'm like, I'm arguing with the wall. So I let it go and I just started dropping little bombs on them. But what I probably should have said was, well, yeah, I can kind of prove the placebo, geez. What I should have said was, I can prove the observer effect. with the Double Slit Experiment. The Double Slit Experiment has confounded some of the brightest minds, some of the most genius physicists of our time, because it proves that until something is observed, it's a wave function. It proved that until attention is directed to it. I hear I'm getting a thing going on here. Let me get a little sip. Until something is proved, that didn't help at all, did it? Until something is proven, until something is observed. I love you, loved ones. Hey, please give this video a like if you would, please. And also subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so. I would so appreciate that very much, really. Anywho, so with the observer effect being proven by Double Slit Experiment, that proved that while the particle was not being observed, it was a wave function, meaning it was this or it was that. It wasn't a thing. It was a wave. And until they directed attention to it, began measuring it, that's when it collapsed to a solid particle. And I really wish I'd pointed that out, but it wouldn't have mattered. I could have been like, the greatest minds in physics, which, okay, atheists, you love your science. Okay. And I do too. Well, I mean, I actually hate science, but it's boring to me, but I understand how necessary it is. There's a little that. Anyway, so it's like that proves the observer effect. That means that something conscious has to observe this particle, which is not yet a particle. It's a wave function. Once something observes it, measures it, however you want to word it, once that happens, that's when it becomes a thing. And that pretty much means consciousness is fundamental. That means consciousness comes before matter. That means consciousness must have existed before matter did. I mean, it just does. I mean, you don't have to like it. That doesn't mean you have to accept God. It doesn't mean you have to accept Christianity. It doesn't mean you have to accept anything. Except the fact that the Double Slit Experiment happened. And there's nothing you can do about that. And the Double Slit Experiment did what it did. It demonstrated what it demonstrated. And there's nothing you can do about that. There's just not. Besides that, I'm like, if there is no creator, if there is no dreamer, if there is no God, I mean, what's the freaking point of any of this? I mean, you want to talk about a hopeless, meaningless existence, right? And just boring with that. It's like, I'm not going to encourage anyone to harm themselves, of course. But it's like, that just sucks. It would be far better to just at least pretend like consciousness does exist. Well, I mean, I guess even they don't deny that it. Even they, I've got my daughter's graduation tassel hanging from my thing here, and I just. Well, that happened. It's fine. So anyway, I guess they don't deny that consciousness exists, but they believe that the consciousness came after matter, meaning the Big Bang happened, everything came from nothing. And then evolution happened and all that good stuff. And brains evolved to a point where they became conscious. And there you go. That's all fine and good, I guess, until you realize, well, consciousness has to come before matter. Double Slit Experiment proved it. That's all. And another thing is, like I've said, I think just in my last video, just the things like placebo effect or Mandela effect, all of those things add up to this being a programmable reality. It is not fixed. See these atheistic types? They want to shoot holes in all the Christian arguments and stuff and prove that whatever the Bible's false. But what they can't, but then when somebody like me, when I come along and I'm like, I'm not even looking at that because I'm like, look, leave those people alone. Just leave them alone. If they, just leave them alone. That's all. Anyway, so when somebody like me comes along and I'm like, well, yeah, but there is mind. Mind does exist. Anyway, I don't know if I should even try to get back on this thing or not. Let's see. Skip to the. Yeah, let's just forget it. Anyway, loved ones, if you would, please give this video a like if you have not yet done so, and subscribe to the channel. And this is a very impromptu, just rant video. So I may be doing another one later. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I do love you, and I will be back directly.